Welcome everyone to Discover This, and welcome back. Today we're going to take some time and we're going to talk about a guy who terrorized the county of San Diego for a number of months. His name is Cleophus Prince. In addition to committing murders, he committed a number of burglaries around the county. In this place here, this gym, back in the day during these crimes, this was a family fitness center. As you can see, the name has been changed, but this was basically the stalking ground for Cleophus Prince. He was a member of the gym, and sometimes he would go inside and kind of stalk some victims there, but many times he would just sit out here in the parking lot and wait for people to come out, and then he would follow them home. Now this gym is right across the street from what is now Marine Corps Air Station Miramar. During the time of these crimes, it was Naval Air Station Miramar, home of Top Gun, where they filmed part of Top Gun, that kind of thing. That'll play in later. We'll talk about it later. So let's get started. On January 12th, 1990, Tiffany Schultz was living here on Cali Way, in this complex here. 3107 Cali Way, number 202 to be exact. And she was seen sunbathing just inside the doorway of her second floor apartment. She lived there with her boyfriend and a roommate. She was a student at San Diego State University. Tiffany had talked to a friend on the phone from about 10 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. and then phone calls from around 12 p.m. and after went unanswered. The people living in the apartment underneath said they returned home sometime between 11 a.m. and 1 p.m. and they heard loud sounds coming from Schultz's apartment. Sounds like someone was being beaten. Tiffany's boyfriend came home late in the afternoon and Tiffany wasn't there, and the roommate's bedroom door was closed, which was not unusual. The roommate came home around 8:45 p.m. and opened the door to his bedroom and found Tiffany's body on the floor. She had been stabbed approximately 47 times with wounds to her neck and also some defensive wounds. Her mouth was bruised and her face had suffered some blunt force trauma. There was no sign of forced entry. However, investigators found bloody marks on the doorknobs for the room Tiffany was found, and that there were honeycomb or crosshatch type pattern on those bloody prints. It appeared the perpetrator had left via a balcony patio and dropped from the second floor to the ground. Tiffany's boyfriend was initially arrested for her murder. He sat in jail for 3 days before being released. He was still a suspect when the next murder occurred. You see, Tiffany and her boyfriend argued regularly about her side job as a dancer at Les Girls, a local strip club down in the sports arena area of San Diego. The boyfriend later testified that sometimes people would follow Tiffany home from that job. "3301 Claremont Drive, number 4. Janine Weinhold was a student at UCSD, and she lived here in apartment number 4 with a roommate. Around 9 a.m. on February 16, 1990, Janine took her roommate to work and told her she'd be going back to the apartment to do laundry and do homework. She was to pick up her roommate around 2 p.m. She never showed up. Phone calls starting around 2:30 p.m. went unanswered. When the roommate finally got home around 8 p.m., she found the front door unlocked. Janine Weinhold's body was found in her bedroom. She had 22 stab wounds to the chest and some defensive wounds. A knife with the tip bent was found in the sink, and there was a blood stain in a honeycomb or crosshatch pattern on the door frame. Now, a neighbor testified later that she saw Cleophus Prince sitting on the stairs leading to Janine Weinhold's apartment around 11:30 a.m. She watched him for about 15 minutes as he sat there. Shortly after she stopped watching, her dog started barking and she heard some loud noises coming from Janine's apartment. Holly Tarr lived in Michigan, But in April 1990, she came to San Diego to visit her brother during her high school spring break. Her friend Tammy came with her. On April 3rd, 1990, both girls played tennis and hung around at the pool approximately 11 a.m. Now this is at 3410 Cowley Way, number 3. That was their apartment. While at the pool, Tammy noticed a black male working out in the athletic area next to the pool who seemed to be watching them. Shortly before noon, Holly said she was going back to the apartment to shower. About 10 minutes or so later, Tammy went back to the apartment, and as she was approaching, she thought she heard a scream. She found the front door locked and heard the phone ringing, but no one was answering. She knocked to no avail. A neighbor called the maintenance crew, and about 10 minutes later, a maintenance man showed up and had a master key, and he opened the door. The door was chained from the inside, but the maintenance man forced his way in. Tammy ran in and saw a man with dark skin running from a bedroom, a white cloth covering his face. He held up a knife as he ran past and out the front door. He would have run right down those stairs. Sometime between noon and 1 p.m., a neighbor heard screams coming from the area of the apartment Holly and Tammy were staying in, and they saw a black male running full speed across the alleyway near the girls' apartment. After Tammy mentioned the black male, who she noticed had been watching them at the pool, law enforcement went and checked the athletic area pool log and found the girls' names, and underneath their names was the name C. Prince. They discovered there was a tenant in the next complex by the name of Cleophus Prince, a black male. They went to Prince's apartment the next day and asked about his whereabouts the day before. Prince admitted he was near the pool, but after the girls left, he went to his apartment and was there till about 2 p.m. when he went to work. He refused to go to the police station to be fingerprinted. Now at this point, the FBI profiling unit was brought in to provide some insight into the mind of the killer. First with Special Agent Larry Ancrom, and then Ancrom brought in John Douglas. You may have heard of John Douglas via his books or the TV show Mindhunter. Douglas detailed his involvement in this murder series in his book Journey to Darkness. 3341 Claremont Drive, number 3. That was Cleophus Prince's apartment at the time. After the Holly Tarr murder, Prince moved out in late April 1990, saying the cops were harassing him. Now, as you can probably tell, these are very large apartment complexes here, both the ones along Cowley Way and the ones along here along Claremont Drive. 2 huge apartment complexes, 2 different names, but both owned and managed by the same company. So they were connected in that way anyway. And here's from the Google Street View aerial, just showing how large these complexes are and where the victims and Cleophus Prince were living at the time. Alyssa Keller was 38 years old, and she lived here at 5225 Trojan Avenue, number 21 in San Diego with her 18-year-old daughter. In the late evening of May 20th, 1990, Alyssa spoke on the telephone with her daughter, who was away for the weekend. On May 21st, 1990, Alyssa failed to show up for work at 9 a.m. She didn't show up at all that day, and she didn't answer the phone. Around 11:30 p.m. on May 21st, Alyssa's daughter returned home. She found the deadbolt on the door unlocked, which was not normal, and she also found that the security chain on the door was undone. After going into the apartment, the daughter found her mother lying on the floor of her bedroom dead, a blanket covering her body. The daughter told investigators that her mother's ring, which had a gold nugget on it, was missing from her finger. The next day, the coroner found that Alyssa had 9 stab wounds to the chest, some defensive wounds, blood smeared on her arms and legs, and it appeared she had been punched in the face and choked. The coroner estimated that she had been dead between 6 to 12 hours, possibly longer. So she had probably been killed late on May 20th or early May 21st, 1990. Now in early May 1990, Cleophus Prince moved to that apartment building up on the hill overlooking this complex where Alyssa Keller lived, where he could watch people around the pool and as they came and went. Cleophus Prince's roommate recalled him wearing a ring with a gold nugget on it in late May 1990, a ring that later went missing. And this is the apartment building that Cleophus Prince moved to in early May 1990, 5252 Orange Avenue, up on the hill, and again overlooking the complex where Alyssa Keller lived with her daughter. In fact, I believe this complex at the time was called Top of the Hill. On September 13th, 1990, around 8 a.m., Pamela Clark left her home here at 5890 Honors Drive in the University City area and went to the Family Fitness Center to work out. Her husband left for work around 8:30 a.m., leaving their 18-year-old daughter, Amber, sleeping in her room. Around 10 a.m., the neighbors heard Amber either arguing or talking loudly to someone, then they also heard a male's voice. The neighbors didn't think too much of it. They also remembered that Pamela's car had left earlier that morning, but they seemed to recall her car returning around 11 a.m. Pamela, who was a massage therapist, didn't show up to work for her 11 a.m. appointment, and no one was answering the phone at the Clark's home. A colleague of Pam's went to check the house. They also had a key, and they found Pamela Clark's body laying in the entryway of the home. She was nude and had 11 stab wounds to the chest, and it appeared she had been dragged to that spot. A knife was laying near her head. Amber Clark's body was found partially in the hallway and partially in a bedroom. She also had been stabbed 11 times, with blood smeared on her body. A knife blade was found on the floor in a nearby bathroom. Money from Pamela Clark's purse was missing, as was her wedding ring. Investigators found a screen had been removed from a dining room window and that there were footprints outside under that window and dirty footprints inside the dining room. So again, this is now in the University City area. So the previous murders were in the Claremont area. So moved a little bit north. So one thing to keep in mind is that investigators weren't just looking at the murders. There was also a number of burglaries occurring throughout the county. And Cleophus Prince at sometimes would stalk victims from the gym, the Family Fitness Center, and other times he would see them at other places. For example, there was at least one occasion where he followed a young woman home from La Jolla Shores, the beach at La Jolla Shores, and she was walking home and he followed her home and tried to break into her house after she got inside. So not all those burglaries had been linked to Cleophus Prince at the time. That would come later, but these things were all occurring around the same time, the burglaries, the murders, and keep in mind he was also burglarizing the homes of the murder victims. So something else that was being developed as far as suspect information was, as police were interviewing witnesses, neighbors, things like that, the blackmail description kept coming up. A vehicle leaving around the time of the crimes, whether it was burglaries or the murders, with a very loud, unique sounding muffler, was also that also kept coming up. So that's another thing that they were adding to their profile that they were looking at. So after police linked the Family Fitness Center to many of the murder victims and burglaries, they took a description of the suspect and the suspect's vehicle with the loud muffler to the fitness center and told them to be on the lookout and to call if they ever saw either. In early February 1991, Prince was caught by a female homeowner who had followed home from this gym inside her house. When she confronted him, he ran outside and got in his car. She got his license plate number. And on February 4th, 1991, the front desk manager of the gym called and said the car with the loud muffler had come back in the lot and circled the lot, then left, then returned 15 minutes later and is now parked in the lot. The black male driver had got out and gone into the passenger seat and slumped down in the seat. She gave police a partial license plate number, the parts that she could see. Police arrived and contacted Cleophus Prince. Prince said he was waiting for his girlfriend Cindy. Well, there was a Cindy inside the gym, and she said she knew Prince, but she was not his girlfriend and she had no plans to meet him that day. Prince was detained for questioning and taken to the police station down the road, where he provided police with a blood sample. Upon searching Prince's car, detectives found a pair of black leather gloves on the passenger seat, a pair of wool gloves on the driver's seat, and 4 knives that had been under the driver's seat and on the floorboards of the driver's and passenger seat. Prince was released pending DNA testing from his blood sample. Now, on February 23rd, 1991, an undercover police officer saw Cleophus Prince drive into this family fitness center parking lot and slowly drive around until he saw a marked police car parked in the parking lot. Prince then exited the parking lot at a high rate of speed, his muffler making his usual loud sound. Cleophus Prince then left California and went to Birmingham, Alabama, supposedly to visit his mother. About 3 weeks after taking Prince's blood for analysis on February 4th, 1991, the results came back, and the DNA from the various crime scenes matched Prince. Police went to his last known address, which was the apartment above Alyssa Keller's complex, but he was gone. Police searched the apartment and his bedroom, and they found Holly Tarr's opal ring. Now, after going to Birmingham, Prince started up his old ways and started committing burglaries. On March 1st, 1991, Prince was arrested for taking money from a cash register at a dance club. He was booked and then released on bond. About 3 hours after being released, Birmingham police learned of the San Diego Police Department's interest in Prince. Birmingham police called Prince's bail bondsman and asked where Prince might be. They gave the police a phone number. Birmingham police called Cleophus Prince and said there was more paperwork to be signed for the bail release and to please come into the police department and sign the paperwork. Surprisingly, Cleophus Prince showed up to the police station accompanied by his parents. He was promptly arrested and held for extradition back to San Diego. Now, at this time, police had only linked Prince to 5 murders. Police noted Prince lived in the same complex as Weinhold and the complex next door to Schultz and Tarr. Prince was dating a woman who lived near the Clarks, who also had the connection to the Family Fitness Center gym. Prince owned shoes that matched several of the footprint impressions from various crime scenes. His gloves matched the honeycomb or crosshatch pattern left at some of the crime scenes. Then detectives found the very unique ring that had been taken off Alyssa Keller's body. So now Prince was accused of that murder also. Then there was the matter of all the burglaries. Prince had been burglarizing homes all over San Diego County, from Encinitas to La Jolla to Scripps Ranch to Mid-City, along with the burglaries he did in conjunction with the murders. There were, I believe, 14 counts of burglary or attempted burglary, in addition to the 6 counts of murder that Cleophus Prince was charged with. Now, one of the burglaries was in the apartment building Prince lived in on Orange Avenue, the one that was above Alyssa Keller's complex. He burglarized the apartment of some female students, and these students had a couple of Italian friends visiting them at the time. Prince stole money, including Italian lira. The day after the burglary, Prince exchanged the Italian lira at a money exchange in downtown San Diego. For identification, he used his actual name, Cleophus Prince, and his identification card. Now, as a little bit of a background, Cleophus Prince Jr. joined the Navy in 1987, and he was stationed at Miramar Naval Air Station. That's where, if you remember, the Top Gun pilots were all housed at the time, and where they filmed part of the first Top Gun movie. It's also right across the street from the Family Fitness Center gym. So Miramar Naval Air Station is now Marine Corps Air Station Miramar. But after spending a month in the brig for stealing money orders, Cleophus Prince was discharged in October of 1989. That's about 3 months before the first murder of Tiffany Schultz. In July 1993, a jury found Cleophus Prince Jr. guilty of 6 counts of first-degree murder, 1 count of rape, and 20 other felonies to include perjury, burglary, and attempted burglary. In November 1993, the judge handed Cleophus Prince Jr. a sentence of death, and he was committed to death row at San Quentin State Prison. And that's where he still is today, at least as of January 2024. So that's going to do it, ladies and gentlemen, for this story on Cleophus Prince and the murders he committed and the burglaries he committed and just terrorizing San Diego County for quite a number of months. And also the investigation that went into not only tracking him down, but linking him to all these various crimes. So I appreciate you watching. I appreciate you taking the time. And we will catch you on the next one.